The scariest moment that happened in my business was when I almost accepted an offer to go back to a full-time job that I hated. At that point, and until now, the thought and the idea of going back to a full-time job turns my stomach. But I felt like I had no choice. Because up until this point, I had a few coaching clients here and there. I had been running the business for about a year and a half to 2 years. So I did have some coaching clients. I had run a few workshops. I had run a few master classes. I was even invited to speak on some TV shows a few times. But in reality and behind closed doors, I wasn't making any money really. The income was so low and so inconsistent, and I could no longer justify it a year and a half or 2 years into running the business. I had left a full-time job that was paying a lot of money to start this business. And I thought that by now I had that image that within a year I'd be somewhere so much further than I had been. So I felt like I had no choice but to accept this job offer. And I started thinking, my God, the shame, the embarrassment of telling people I went back to a full-time job, like I failed at the whole entrepreneurship thing. But I remember that day so well. I remember walking out of that interview and into my car and sitting down. And in that moment, I made a decision to change things around. I made a decision to make my business work because I knew after this experience of sitting with the interviewer, sitting with my ex-boss, where he talked to me about the role and the new venture that they have, and having this feeling in my stomach that no, this is not what you're meant to do. Don't do that. And I love coaching, I love teaching, I wanted to make it work. And in that moment, I made the decision to make it work. Looking back now, a few years after that, my business has grown. I started making more consistent income. I'm reaching more people. I've started creating programs and online courses, and things have turned around that the idea of going back to a full-time job is not an option for me right now. And in today's video, I'm going to share with you 5 of those things that I started doing that you can start doing as well, so you don't have to go back to a full-time job if that's not something that you want to do, and you can run a successful business that brings in more consistent income every week and every month. The first thing that I started doing differently is I increased my prices. I simply started charging more. I know it sounds very simple, and it's probably the one thing that most of us miss, because most coaches think that the reason that they're not selling is because their prices are too high, and we keep lowering our prices. Another belief that I had, that maybe you still have too, is that as a new coach, I have no right to ask for high ticket prices from my clients. And I noticed a few things. First of all, more money was coming in. Obviously, that was great because that was the goal from the beginning. What I noticed that was more important than more money coming in was the fear that I had that my clients were going to say no, that had held me back for so long, was completely in my head. I thought that if I told my clients I'm increasing my prices, I was going to lose all of them, and people are going to say, you're so expensive, who do you think you are? Like, I had a whole scene in my head that never actually happened. One of the biggest benefits of that, other than you making more money, is that your clients will get better results. Why? Because when a client puts in more money for a program or for a session or for any type of coaching that you're offering them, they are much more committed. They will feel like they've put some skin in the game and they need to actually follow through on what they're doing. I mean, you think about it yourself. Do you attend all of the free courses that you sign up for? Or maybe you bought a course for $17 or $27 or even $47 that's sitting in your inbox somewhere that you haven't opened yet. But what about the programs where you paid 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, whatever number you think is a high number? Did you miss the calls? Did you miss the coaching? Did you miss the classes? Probably not. And guess what? When you attend and you take notes and you're committed, what's likely to happen? You will implement and you will see results. So that was the most amazing thing of raising my prices, is seeing my clients actually do the work, do what it takes to change things around for themselves. So that gave me the second thing, which I started doing differently, which is social proof. This is one of the simplest marketing concepts ever, and it's common sense. When you want to invest your money in something, it's very helpful for you to hear about the experience of other people, especially if it's higher ticket. I realized after learning that through my own experience and through reading and learning and taking my own courses, that testimonials is one of the best marketing tools. And now that I was having clients who were getting even better results, these testimonials started sounding better and much more genuine and much more results oriented. So it was no longer like my older testimonials where clients would just write me if they felt like it, where they were saying that was so inspiring or wow, I feel heard, which was really nice feedback. The new testimonials were much more about the results that my clients were getting, so much more convincing to new potential clients. The third thing that I started doing differently is I became a better copywriter. Now, the irony is, I started my career in an advertising agency as a copywriter. I've always loved writing. I've been a writer since I was a kid, and I thought that I was a pretty good writer. I realized after starting to run my coaching business that the type of writing that I was writing before, the creative writing, using these like amazing funky words and adding so much feeling into the text, doesn't actually work to sell my products or my services or my coaching. Because what clients needed was clarity. What are you going to do for me? What is your promise? What result will I get from you? And how are you going to give me this result? And all of this is words. And copywriting is simply the ability to convince people of something. And when you become better at doing that, guess what? You start selling more. So becoming a good writer is one of the key skills that you need in your online business. The fourth thing that I started doing differently is that I started adding deadlines to whatever it is I was selling. Initially, I was so resistant to this idea. And although I was coached on it, some of my mentors were telling me to do that, I was extremely resistant because in my mind, I believed that if you had a deadline for something, that it meant that you're going to sell to less people because it's less time. That was the logic that I had. But when I started doing this myself and multiple times to prove to myself that it actually works, I realized that it does. Why? Because giving people a deadline is like providing them with an environment to make a decision. And people need that. People need you to tell them, are you in or are you out? Not are you in indefinitely. Are you in now? Are you ready to do this now or not now? This is not no pressure. Nobody's ever going to buy because they feel pressured by you. I promise you that. What you'll be helping them with is the decision to either say yes or no. And many of them are going to say no, and that's normal. That's part of sales. But I've seen it time and time again with my own programs and products and online courses and the products and courses of my clients. When they started adding deadlines, the sales they were making increased. And the fifth thing that I started doing differently to bring in more money into my business was probably the most important shift of all, which is that I became so much more honest with myself. You see, sometimes we say we want something, we want more clients, we want to build amazing programs and courses, we want and we want and we dream. And on a conscious level, we do want these things. But sometimes, deep inside, deep down, we actually are so afraid of these things that we don't really want them. Our subconscious mind is trying to protect us from all of the stories that we're telling ourselves about that thing that we want. So, for example, maybe one of the things that you want is to have more clients, but the story you're telling yourself is having more clients means that it's going to take so much more of my time. And maybe you're already stretched to the limit and you don't want to give your business even more of your time. So now on a conscious level, you're saying, I want to make more money, I want to get more clients, but your subconscious is saying, but you don't want to lose more time. So you know what? I'm going to protect you. And you know how it protects you? Your copywriting, which we talked about earlier, becomes weaker somehow. It's almost as if you are doing the actions to sell, maybe showing up on calls with clients, showing up live on Instagram to talk about your program and all of these things. You're doing the things, but in your mind and deep inside, you don't actually want to sell. And you know what? That energy comes through every single time. Now, we talked about pricing earlier, and in a free workshop that I have available for you as a gift, it's pre-recorded. You can grab it from the link underneath this video. I go much deeper into my philosophy around pricing and how to set your prices and this whole pricing strategy that has us entrepreneurs and coaches very confused. I think you're really going to enjoy it, and you leave that session feeling like much more confident to raise your prices, maybe not double them immediately, but raise your prices a little bit. So make sure you grab this free training from underneath this video. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I haven't introduced myself. If you're new here, hi, I'm Muna from Inside Out with Muna, where I help you build and grow your online business and your personal brand. If you enjoyed this video, please comment, like, subscribe. Every click counts, every comment counts. It will really help me reach more and more people. And while you're here, I suggest you take a tour around the channel. There's a lot of videos where I talk about things that will help you grow your business, not just strategy-wise, but mindset-wise as well. I hope you enjoy that, and I'll see you next week.